guys, it is March 25th, 2025, and I hope everybody's been having a wonderful day so far today. It is an absolutely beautiful day here in South Carolina, as you can see from behind me back here. I mean, we have like the most perfect blue skies. It actually matches the color of my shirt, as a matter of fact. But it is absolutely beautiful here today. It is nice and warm. Not a cloud in the sky, the sun's shining, so it's going to be a great day today. But what I wanted to talk about today is I kind of want to piggyback off of the past two videos that I've done. And I actually came up with the idea for this video on Sunday, but I kind of wanted to hold on to it, and I was thinking about doing this video later on down the road, but I just decided today that I wanted to talk about this. And the reason being is because I've been kind of like leading into this video the last two videos that I've done. And I just think that talking about this is really important, especially after I just did the previous two videos. And what I wanted to talk about today is, and I touched on this in yesterday's video too, but learning to be sober, because I just think that it's such an important topic to discuss. What made me think about this video idea was on Sunday, my son, he wanted to have some rice, and he loves to eat rice. We had some basmati rice underneath the cabinet and some jasmine rice and some Warriyo. But he wanted to go with the basmati, and I told him, I said, okay, well, I'm going to teach you how to make it. I was about to make it for him, and then I said, no, I'm going to teach you how to do it so you can do it from this point forward. If you want to have some rice, I just figured, why not teach him how to do this? And I said, look, I'm going to show you how to do it in our pressure cooker. We have one of those little pressure cookers that sits up on the counter. I can't remember, Instapot, I think is what it's called. And by the way, I absolutely love working with an Instapot. I never was a big fan of cooking with pressure cookers throughout my career. They always scared me, but that's because I was cooking with like traditional pressure cookers that you put on a stove. I just have seen like horror stories about this stuff, like people's kitchens exploded because they didn't, use it correctly. They just always scared me, like I said. And I got this Instapot, and it's all, you just enter in what how many minutes or whatever, and it cooks, and then it depressurizes on its own. They're a really nice piece of kitchen equipment to work with. I really do enjoy it, especially if you're like trying to braise meat or something like that. You can go ahead and brown your meat off, throw it in that Instapot, and walk away. And when you come back, the meat will be like falling off the bones. But anyway, like I said, I wanted to teach him how to make rice. And I was showing him the steps, and there's a rice setting on that Instapot. You just hit the button, it cooks it for 10 minutes. So I'm showing him how to wash the rice, and I'm showing him how to season it. I was teaching him about aromatics, and we threw some bay leaf in there and some fresh rosemary and a lemon, and we're doing all this stuff. And as I'm going through this process of teaching him how to make the rice, it just kind of clicked with me about how we have to learn how to be sober. And it's not something that you can necessarily teach someone, but it's something that we have to kind of learn on our own. But I just, while I was making that rice with him and teaching him how to make it, it just made me think about how we have to learn how to be sober. Because it took me a long time to learn how to be sober. And that was one of the hardest things for me in the beginning after I got sick and got out of the hospital, was here I am all of a sudden, just kind of washed up on the beach. Here I am, just laying on this beach like a castaway. I didn't know what to do. I was just kind of thrown into it. I wasn't mentally prepared for this. I wasn't expecting this to happen. Right before that, I was binge drinking super heavy before I ended up in the hospital. And then, like I said, here I am all of a sudden just washed up on the beach all alone on this deserted island. And, that's basically what it was like. There's no alcohol. I can't drink and I don't know what to do. And I've spoken about this here recently. One of the first things that we did as a family after I'd gotten sober, this is a few weeks in, I think it was about a month after I'd gotten sober, we decided to take our kids to a trampoline park for the day. And that was one of the most difficult things that I've ever been through. I was so uncomfortable. I had just recently gotten sober, and I hadn't been anywhere like that yet. Now, I'd gone to my daughter's graduation, but that was very short. I didn't stay in there very long. I basically just watched her walk across the stage and then went and got back in our vehicle and laid down in the seat because I felt so bad. This was like our first, outing, being out in public, and here I am. I don't know how to act. I don't even know what to do. I don't have my alcohol to lessen the anxiety. And I've got these kids all around me. There's parents everywhere. The place is packed with people. I felt so uncomfortable. I just felt like I was somebody else living in someone else's body. I mean, I just didn't feel like myself. I was so lost mentally. I mean, I truly was. And like I said, that's what I wanted to talk about today. Just like I was talking about in yesterday's video, this is something that, for a lot of us is brand new. Especially if you've lived, most of your life consuming alcohol or whatever it is, whatever activity or substance, you've been using this vice as a means to help with anxiety, stress, depression, you name it. We do these things for all sorts of reasons. And a lot of times it's social anxiety. And like I said, here I am. I went to this first event and I had social anxiety like crazy. I've got all these people running around. There's kids screaming. I wanted to pull my hair out. I just didn't know what to do. And I remember I was sitting at the table with my wife and we were talking, and I was looking around, watching all the kids playing and watching my kids playing. And I did not feel comfortable that day at all. And, here I am, just fresh out of the hospital by, let's say, a month, 30 days. And, I've got this new lease on life. I'm recently sober. The doctor told me that he didn't even know if I was going to live through this. And I lived through it. I had 12 blood transfusions while I was in the hospital, 12 bags of blood. I mean, it was a lot. I went through a lot. And here I am. I've got this new lease on life. I should be happy. But I wasn't. I was so upset that I couldn't have my best friend, which was alcohol, to comfort me and to help me through these uncomfortable times. And like I said, I know that there's a lot of you out there that are going through this right now. It's brand new to you. This life is, it's unknown territory. It's uncomfortable. And every single time that you have something come up where you get angry or sad or happy, well, what do you do now? For my whole entire life, when I got angry, I drank. And I would run around the house saying that too, I'm so mad right now, that's why I'm drinking the way I'm drinking. And I would use things to bend them in the way that I wanted them to. We're an active addiction, we manipulate. And I definitely did. I would use any excuse. I would find something to get upset about so that I could use that for my reason. If I didn't have a legit reason to drink that day, let's say we were having a great day. I could have just won the lottery and we won $10 million. I didn't win the lottery. I'm just saying, let's say that happened. And I wanted to drink. I would find a reason to get upset so I could say, that is why I'm drinking today. These are the things that we do when we're in active addiction. But anytime I would get angry or sad, or if I was having a great day, like I said, if I was to win the lottery or something, I would have had to have drank because, I won the lottery. I mean, come on. You're going to ask me why I'm drinking because we won the lottery? That's a stupid question, because we just won the lottery. We have to celebrate. And when we get into sobriety, we're fresh into sobriety. When these times come up, your kid, gets a scholarship somewhere, or they just graduated from high school, or they graduate from college, or you need to go to a wedding, or you just had a baby, you name it. Something great happens, that's when we want to celebrate and drink. Now here it is, all of a sudden, something, great happens. Well, what do you do? And that, I can't answer that question for you. All I can say is, try to live in the moment. You know, experience the feeling of being happy. Same thing with being angry. You know, experience that feeling. That's what normal people do. You know, every time I ever got angry, I would just get drunk. Every time I got sad, I would just get drunk. I just want to remove myself from that. I didn't want to feel those feelings. And like I was talking about in yesterday's video, you know, when we first get into sobriety, all of a sudden, here comes this wave of feelings and emotions. And it can be overwhelming, especially in the beginning of our sobriety. Anytime we get upset, you know, our mind's already, the gears are turning in our brains. We're already sitting there thinking to ourselves, I could use this as a reason to get drunk today. I can go to the store and get that bottle and then come back home and then say, I'm so upset. I'm gonna drink just for today because this happened, but not tomorrow. And that's the kind of stuff that we do. And then, you know, before you know it, you've had 2 weeks of sobriety, you get upset about something, you go to the store, get your bottle or get whatever it is, you come back home and you start using it, and then before you know it, the next day you're right back doing it again and again and again, and then before you know it, months, years, whatever have gone by, and that little bit of sobriety is, you know, in the distant past, completely forgotten. It's like riding a bicycle or riding a motorcycle for the first time, or you name, riding a horse. I mean, you name anything that you're driving a car for the first time. It takes practice. You don't learn it the very first time that you get into it. People don't learn how to fly a plane the first time they get in an airplane. It takes hours and hours and hours of practicing and flying with a co-pilot, or they're flying the plane while you're learning what they're doing, and then you finally get to fly with the co-pilot or the teacher with you. And, you know, there's hours and hours and hours of instruction that you have to have in order to learn how to fly a plane. Well, the same thing applies to our sobriety. You can't expect it just to, you know, happen all of a sudden and, you know, you're going to feel great and everything's just going to work out, because, like I said, here come all these emotions that we haven't felt in a very long time, and they can be so overwhelming. And that's why I think that journaling can be so important in our sobriety journey, because we can keep track of things that trigger us. You know, just get a little notebook just like this. I mean, it doesn't take much. And maybe start one little page of triggers, things that you've noticed that trigger you. When you get that feeling like, I've got to have a drink. Well, what was it that made you feel that way? Write it down. That way in the future, maybe you can try better to avoid that or whatever. Write down how you're feeling throughout the day. Just start writing in a journal. I know it sounds kind of tacky, but it really does help. Day 1, get a notebook. Day 1. How am I feeling? Day 1. Day 2, how am I feeling? What happened today? Just start writing it down. It really helps to get those emotions out on paper. When that pen hits that paper, there's a connection there. I don't know what it is, the brain connection to that or whatever, but it just helps to get it out. Same thing with just whipping your phone out and recording yourself, and journaling in that manner. You know, you could go back and watch those videos. If you start to get a feeling like, you know, you're starting to feel triggered, you could go back and watch one of those old videos from when, you know, you were new into sobriety and how you're feeling or whatever. I just think journaling and writing down how we feel and things that upset us or just whatever's going on in our life, I think it just really helps. And you know what? What do you have to lose? Okay, if you get a pen and paper out, you know, you start a journal, you start documenting your days, what do you have to lose? If it didn't help you, then so what? What did you waste? A couple minutes out of each day? I'm sure that you've wasted a lot more time doing other things than journaling. You know, maybe laying around in the bed all day long because you're hungover from the night before, or staying up till 6 o'clock in the morning, getting drunk when you could have been asleep, and your whole weekend's wasted away because you got trashed on Friday night and stayed up all night long. Didn't go to bed till 7 a.m. and Saturday and Sunday are just shot. That's wasted time. I don't think that, you know, at least just giving something a try like journaling. I don't find anything wrong with it. You know, like I said, how much time are you actually going to waste doing it? It's worth a try. And then, I think another really big one here is, when we first get sober, one of the biggest hurdles that we have to jump over is the boredom. Because for a lot of us, we drink when we get bored. And we start drinking when we get bored in the beginning. And then as time passes by, slowly, we start to get, physically addicted to the substance, whatever it is, especially alcohol. And then, we're just drinking because we don't want to get sick anymore. We want the shakes to go away. We don't want to feel bad. But in the beginning, and also in active addiction, we'll use whatever the substance is or the activity is to get rid of our boredom. We use it as a tool to keep us entertained. And anytime that we get bored, it can be a huge trigger. If you're just laying around in your bed all day long, or just sitting on the couch watching TV or whatever it is, and you start getting bored, you'll start thinking about, man, if I just went to the store and got a 12-pack or a bottle or whatever, this could really help with this boredom I have right now. But in reality, it's not. I mean, all you're doing when you're drinking or whatever, is you're just numbing yourself. You don't feel anything anymore. You just sit, and you're just going to sit on the couch probably and just zone out watching that television. You're not even paying attention to what's going on. You're just slamming those beers or slamming those drinks and just flicking that remote. And that's why I say all the time that finding a hobby or something to keep you occupied is so important in our sobriety. I cannot stress that enough. Just find something to do that you enjoy. And keep trying things until you find something that you really actually enjoy doing. There are so many things out there that you can do. You could read books. You could start a YouTube channel. You could start crocheting, you could start sewing, you could start painting or drawing or sculpting. Woodworking. There's fishing, hunting, working on cars. There are so many different things that you could do to occupy your time. It could just be like making bead necklaces or something like that. I don't know. Maybe think about that business idea that you've had for the last 25 years that you've never acted on. Maybe give it a shot now. You've gotten sober. Now's the time. Pour yourself into that. You might find that all of a sudden now with the time that you have in your new sobriety and, pouring your time into, let's say, that business opportunity that you've been thinking about, all of a sudden it starts to work out because you're focused now. You're not being pulled away out of your body drinking every single night or whatever it is. You're actually present. You're not looking at your watch every 5 seconds going, all right, I only got 3 more hours to 5 o'clock until I can have that drink. You guys know what I'm talking about. We've all done it. Just counting down the seconds until we get to go so that we can have that drink. You don't have that weight on you anymore. You're not worried about that anymore. If you want to spend a couple extra hours in the afternoon doing something, it's no big deal. What else are you going to be doing? And you could potentially turn it into something super positive. I think at the same time, too, we drink for all kinds of reasons, depression, especially anxiety, whatever it is. And a lot of the time, anxiety is a real thing. It is a real phenomenon. Waking up the next morning after drinking very heavy, you have this anxiety that you just cannot get rid of. I used to deal with it every single day. I've been speaking about this a lot lately, but I could not drive my vehicle. My anxiety was so bad. I was afraid to drive my car. After I quit drinking and I got sober, all that went away. I'm not worried about that anymore. I can drive anywhere, and it does not frighten me one bit. It just blows my mind that all that time, it was the alcohol that was causing that anxiety in me. I didn't know if there was something wrong with me. I couldn't quite put the two of them together. I thought that they might be, but I was like, why is this happening? I thought that maybe, something psychologically had happened that was causing that. I just wasn't sure. And then I quit drinking, and it just went away, just like that. Do I still get anxiety? Sometimes, yeah, of course. I'm a human being. We all get anxiety. Do I get anxiety when I get around a whole bunch of people? I do. You wouldn't think it. I'm on here talking on here every single day, sharing my life with you, but it's just me and a camera. When I get into a big group of people in a room, especially if I have to stand up and speak in front of a bunch of people, oh my gosh. It's like I step outside of my body when I do that. I'll get up there on a stage, and I used to have to do a lot of, like speaking in front of a bunch of people back in the day. And I would get up there and talk, and then I'd walk off the stage or whatever it was, and I wouldn't even remember what I'd even said. I mean, I was like seriously out of my physical body. I did not know what was going on. And before I would have to do those speaking events or whatever, it was for my job. Anytime I had to do that, I would have a couple mini bottles in my pocket, and I would go down them in the bathroom or something before that. I knew that was about to happen, so that I could get my nerves to calm down. I would be drinking on the way because I would have to drive pretty far distance to go to these meetings. It'd be hour, 2 hours, 3, 4 hours sometimes that I'd have to drive. The whole way driving there, I'd be drinking beer on the way to my business meeting from my job and show up to my meeting after I've been drinking, smelling like alcohol. It's crazy. But that's what I did. And like I said, I get anxiety too. But I used alcohol as a means to get rid of that anxiety. And I truly do think that after we get rid of the alcohol, that anxiety will lessen for you. Will it absolutely go away? Probably not. But it won't be as bad. It's not going to be that anxiety that you deal with. It definitely won't be that. And talking about, finding hobbies and things to do, I just want to throw this in here really quick. But I think one of the super duper important things in the beginning of sobriety is, I'm not saying do this like week 1, week 2. I'm not saying that at all. In the beginning of your sobriety, do what you have to do just to stay sober. If that's eating cheeseburgers and ice cream and French fries and Doritos and candy and drinking soda all day long, if that's what you have to do in the beginning of your sobriety, you do what you got to do. Is that something you want to do every day for the rest of your life? Absolutely not. But when we first get sober, you're probably going to have a sweet tooth. You're probably going to feel like drinking soda. You're going to want to eat ice cream or candy or whatever it is. It happens to a lot of us because you're pulling that that glucose away. Alcohol is basically just sugar. And when you stop drinking, I don't know if it's particularly glucose or not, but when you pull that sugar away or that carbohydrate, your body's going to want you to replace it with something. And I think that's a lot of reasons why we get sweet tooths in the beginning of our sobriety. But later down the road, after you get a little bit more comfortable, exercise and sleep are so important. And I get it. It's not easy to go to sleep in the beginning of your sobriety. It's just not. You probably were like me. You drank until you just passed out. Going to sleep wasn't hard when you're blackout drunk and then you just wake up the next morning. You don't even remember laying down in the bed. I can't tell you how many nights that I fell asleep in my chef jacket, chef pants, and everything, reeking of food. Greasy as all get out, and I would fall asleep in my chef coat and everything. I wouldn't even take a shower. I would just get so drunk and then I'd just pass out. I'd wake up on the couch or I'd wake up on the floor. I used to wake up in the weirdest places. Like I said, it's not hard falling asleep when you're blackout drunk every night, but after you remove that, getting to sleep can be kind of difficult. And that's where exercise comes into play. I'm not saying go to the gym and start lifting 450 pounds. I'm saying just get up and try to go for a little walk. Do whatever you can do. I've spoken about this so many times, but I used to walk around my yard with a 5-gallon bucket and one of those little pickup sticks. And all I did was pick up pine cones and sticks. That's all I did. And I did it every day. My wife would come home and say, why are you back out here picking those up again? Like, they're just going to keep falling out of the trees, and then you're back out here picking them up again. I would pick them up, make a big pile, and I'd burn them. And I just told her one day, I was like, I'm not doing this because, I'm trying to make our yard look good or anything. Although it did help. It just gave me something to do, and I felt safe being in my yard. I felt like if I got into trouble, I started feeling sick, I started getting really weak, I could at least get myself into the house, and I wouldn't go far. It was just right around my yard. And that's all I did. I'd spend hours a day walking around in the sun, just picking up sticks. I remember one day my daughter came home from school, and I was in the backyard picking up sticks, and she came out there, and the two of us picked up sticks for, I don't know, a couple of hours. That makes me want to cry even thinking about that. That was a really special day for me. Excuse me one second. But anyway, like I said, it's just, getting up and moving around. I just think it's very important because we wear our body down enough to where at night we can lay down and just go to sleep. And there's, chamomile tea. I've spoken about that so many times on here. It helps me tremendously. Anytime I have to have a surgery the next day, I'll drink chamomile tea that night because I can't sleep. I'm nervous. And the chamomile tea knocks me out. There's things like CBD, valerian root. Be careful with valerian root, though. That's a very powerful herb. Just be very careful with it. I've taken it one time, and I'll never take it again. I just don't like the way I feel on it. As a matter of fact, Valium was named after valerian. It's like that powerful of an herb. It like knocked me out. I just don't like the way it feels. But it's one of those herbs that you can take. There are things out there that can help calm you down a little bit and just help you maybe, unwind a little bit more and go to sleep at night, like those things. And exercise is a big one. And trying to eat healthy too. With a proper diet, getting enough protein, organic vegetables, fiber, exercise, and trying to sleep. It's just going to make you feel better, which is going to help you ease into that life of sobriety. Because the better you feel, if you're taking care of yourself and doing the things that you need to do, you're going to start to feel better physically. And when you start to feel better physically, you're going to start to feel better mentally. And when you start to feel better mentally and physically, you're going to feel better all over. And I just think that's so important. And not only is it going to be positive in your life, but it's going to be positive in all those people's lives around you. They're going to start to see the difference in you. You're not going to be so easy to snap when you get upset about something. And that's one, we have to learn how to deal with those emotions as well. What do you do when you get angry now? When you used to drink, well, you'd go drink when you got mad. Well, now when you get mad, now what? What are you going to do? It's like trying to figure out action plans for this stuff as well. What are you going to do when you get sad? What are you going to do when you get bored? What are you going to do when you get happy? And I know that sounds ridiculous, but that was a huge one for me. And you wouldn't think it, but when I was having a good time and I was very happy about something made me genuinely happy, I wanted to drink. That's what I did. I celebrated. Well, now what? What do I do now? Those are the things that we have to figure out. Come up with action plans, escape routes. You get angry, now what? Go for a walk. Step outside. If you get angry, drop to the floor and do some push-ups. I don't know, just figure something out that you will do when those emotions arise. When you get sad, what are you going to do? Maybe turn on some music that brings you up, or maybe, like I said, go for a walk or go for a jog, or maybe break out your paints and start painting on canvas, or maybe writing poems is what you do when you get sad now that you're sober. Maybe going for a bike ride or a motorcycle ride, or, working in your garden. Sometimes we really need to remove ourselves from situations when we get like that. And that's something that I had to learn. And it took me getting basically to the age that I'm at now to finally figure that out. It took me my whole entire life to figure that out. That arguing isn't going to get me anywhere. You never really ever win an argument anyway. Even if you think you won, the other party thinks they won too. And even if you did win the argument, well, you probably just lost a friend or, a loved one. They're probably not going to talk to you for a while, because when we win arguments, we upset the other party. Nobody ever wins an argument. They just don't. It's one of those things. It's just, you never win. However it happens, we always lose when we argue with each other. Having constructive conversation is a whole nother, talk. But arguing just doesn't go anywhere. Screaming matches back and forth. You start feeling like that. What are you going to do about it? I walk outside. My wife and I start getting angry at each other about something. I immediately remove myself from that conversation. As soon as I feel myself starting to get upset or my wife getting upset, I step away. Every single time now. I do not entertain that stuff. I do not argue. I refuse to argue. I will walk outside. I will walk into my woods. I will go sit on my front porch. I will go sit downstairs. Sometimes I will sleep down there for the night because I might still be a little bit upset, and I just have to make sure I'm cooled off before I can come back and talk about whatever the problem was, whatever it was we were arguing about. But like I said, I just think that, have an action plan for those emotions and what we're going to do when those emotions come up, because they're going to happen. And these are things that I didn't know when I first got sober. I did not know what to do with that. I didn't know that all these emotions were going to happen, and I wasn't going to be familiar with this territory now. It's like I said, we have to learn to be sober. I spent my whole entire life being intoxicated and using any kind of substance. But alcohol was the main one for me. And anytime I had any kind of emotion, I drank. I used every excuse in the book and drank. And then when I got sober, after, 27 years of full-on drinking, almost 30 years of drinking like that, I was totally lost. I did not know what to do. And it's taken me this long to figure all this stuff out. I have struggled. Especially in the beginning when I was very, very ill. Here I am, new to sobriety, and I can't even walk outside. I was that sick. There were a lot of tears. I really struggled with my sobriety in the beginning. And I still, to this day, I still get cravings. And it'll be 3 years in May, and I still get cravings. I still think about drinking. It still pops up in my mind. I just don't act on it. I know what it's going to do. I know exactly where it's going to lead me. And that's why I don't go back. Because as soon as I have one sip, one drop, one of anything, an ounce of alcohol touches my lips, it's going to be off to the races. I would disappear so fast. I'm telling you guys, that's just the way I work. If I was to have one sip, it would be on. It would really be on. I would disappear, and who knows where I would go. I would drink myself to the point, who knows if I'd even wake up. Especially since I haven't drank in so long. And when we relapse, a lot of times we'll go right back to the same amount or more. And it's so dangerous when we do that. And I know myself, I would. I wouldn't know when to stop either, because I've never known when to stop. I have absolutely no self-control when it comes to drinking. Never once in my life have I ever been able to control it after I've had a drink. Never once in my life have I ever said, I'm only going to have 3 beers today, and it worked out. Never one time. It's either all or nothing for me. And I know there's a lot of you out there who can relate to what I'm talking about. It's all or nothing. We can't have one. We can't have a half of one. We can't have a quarter of a drink, because we're going to want more. Normal people, they go out, they have 2-3 drinks, and they're done for the night, or one drink. We go out, we have one drink, and it's over, We're not stopping until we're stumbling, puking, can't talk, slurring our words, people can't understand us, passed out on the park bench, or, asleep at the bar. I've done that so many times. I can't tell you how many times I have fallen asleep sitting at a bar because I was so drunk. I can't tell you how many times I've had to be carried out of places because I was so intoxicated. I couldn't even walk anymore. And that's how I used to drink. When I went out and partied, there was no stopping me. But guys, like I said, I just think that learning to be sober is a huge part of this. Like I said, it takes practice. It takes getting used to. The first time that you ever, let's say, had a glass of scotch or something like that, I bet you didn't like it. It took time to learn how to enjoy drinking that stuff. A lot of people, the first time they had a beer, they didn't like it. You had to learn to like it. It took drinking it over and over again. So you finally were like, oh, every time I drink this, I feel great. Then you start to enjoy the taste because you enjoy the way it makes you feel. I can't say that because the first time I ever had alcohol, I absolutely loved the taste of it. First time I had a beer, I was like, 4 or 5 years old. Actually, probably younger than that. I don't remember it, but I do remember the first time I had a beer when I was very young, or a taste of a beer. I was very, very young, like 5 years old. I remember. And I drank it, and I liked it. I remember sitting at the kitchen window. My parents were outside doing yard work in our backyard. They were working on our garden, and there was a bottle of wine sitting on the kitchen counter. This is when we lived in North Carolina. And I went in the refrigerator and got some cheese and cut it up in little pieces and poured myself a glass of wine in a wine glass, mind you. And stood there in my kitchen. I thought I was so fancy. And I drank that wine and looked out the window to make sure that my parents weren't coming inside. And I ate cheese, drank wine, looked out the window. I thought I was so high class that day. Not knowing that was going to be my demise. Later on down the road, I had no clue. But guys, like I said, it takes practice. If you have gotten sober and, every time that these emotions come up or something bad happens or there's some tragedy in your life, and that's another thing too. What are you going to do when a tragedy happens or something bad happens? We have to have escape routes and action plans and what we're going to do when these things arise. How are you going to prevent yourself from going to the store and buying that alcohol? People get sick all the time and things happen in our life. It's just part of life. It is part of our life. We can't go through this life without problems. And just think about how much stronger you're going to be, how much more resilient you're going to be down the road after you've beaten this. Is it ever, is the battle ever truly won? I don't know. But we can do our best to do it. We can do our best to win. Being sober is hard. Trust me, I know. But it is doable. And like I said, it just takes practice and getting used to. There are so many things in this life that we didn't like the first time that we tried it. Maybe it's some music that you listened to the first time. You're like, that's garbage. But as an adult, you grew up and learned to love it. Something like jazz or classical music, that you always thought was sorry. And then you get older and you're like, this is actually really good. But it took you time to learn how to like it, or some kind of artwork, or a certain type of food that you didn't like as a kid. But as you became older, you learned to enjoy it because it took time for you to learn how to like it. Like I said, for most people, they did not enjoy their first few drinks. It didn't taste good, but they drank it anyway because they liked the way it made them feel. But as time went on, they began to learn how to like the alcohol. Same thing with our sobriety. It just takes time. It takes learning, and it takes getting used to. It's like putting training wheels on a bike. And at some point, after you learn how to keep that bike upright, you can take those training wheels off. But it just takes time. It really does. And I can promise you that it does get easier. But give it a shot. Try the journaling. Try taking videos of yourself. Try doing any of that stuff. Try getting exercise every day. Try to go to bed at a decent time at night every day. Try to eat at the certain times every day. Don't eat 2-3 hours before you lay down and go to bed. Eat by 6 or 7 o'clock and then lay down and go to bed, whatever it is. But doing these things can really help to make your sobriety just a little bit easier. And whatever you can do to make it just a little bit easier is definitely going to pay off in the end. Because in the end, you getting sober, staying sober, you're protecting yourself. You're protecting your health. You're protecting your life. You're protecting your sanity, your mental health, your job. Every single aspect of your life is going to be affected in a positive way by getting and staying sober. Just make sure that you speak with a doctor first before you try to attempt getting sober. Don't go jumping into it, quitting cold turkey. Please speak with the doctor. Let them know how much you've been drinking and for how long. And I'm going to throw this in here because I haven't talked about it in a while, but I am not a doctor. I'm not affiliated with any medical teams or hospitals or anything. I'm just a guy that has AUD and almost lost his life multiple times because of it. And I drank my whole entire life. And I'm just a guy just trying to help people and teach about the dangers of alcohol and addiction. That's all I am. Like I said, I'm not a doctor or nurse or anything like that. So, don't take what I say as medical advice or anything like that. I'm just talking about things that have helped me and they might help you. But anyway, guys, I'm already at almost 40 minutes, so I better go ahead and get off of here for today. I really do appreciate you guys being here and watching. I truly do. Thank you so much to each and every single one of you that have helped support the channel. I truly appreciate you guys. The past few weeks, the outpouring of support, it's beautiful. I truly do appreciate each and every single one of you. I go to the doctor on Thursday, so just got another day, and then I'll be going to see my GI doctor, and I'll have some answers for you guys about what's going to happen as far as a second opinion. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and see how this turns out on Thursday. And like I said, I'm going to wait until I get done at my doctor's appointment and I get back home. It's an hour drive to get there. So my appointment's at 1 o'clock on Thursday, so I'll probably won't get home until about 4. And then once I get back home, I'll film and tell you guys what the plan's going to be moving forward. And then that night, the video post, so you guys will find out what's going on with that. I did discuss doing a live this weekend. I think I'm going to go ahead and plan on doing that live on Saturday, and probably Saturday sometime during the day, in the afternoon at some point. I think my wife gets home around like 4 o'clock on Saturday, so I'll probably start the live around 2 or something like that. So we can go ahead and get a couple hours in on the live. I'll probably do it from like 2 to 4. And like I said, that way I can, everybody can come in, we can chat. And 2 hours is a good time. I just would like to get the chance to get to know you guys. Excuse me. I've had the hiccups. Like I said, I'd like to get to know some of you guys. There's a lot of new people here on the channel, and the live is just basically just a conversation for everybody. You can ask me whatever you want. The only thing I don't talk about is where I live exactly and my name. And my family's names. I just keep that private, but everything else, I'm open book. You can ask me whatever you'd like. I don't get offended by any of that stuff. If you have a question about, how many beers I drink a day or whatever, or what I used to cook at the restaurant, whatever questions you might have for me, the live is a great opportunity for, real time, back and forward between us all. So, and I read through all of the comments. So in the beginning, it's a little bit easier. You will see I will get a little bit clogged up because there's so many and I'm trying to read through them all. So if we get into the live and there's, you've asked me a question and I haven't gotten to you yet, and you're wondering if I will, I eventually will. It's just I'm just trying to scroll through and read everything. I will eventually, probably, I don't know, halfway through, I'll get really bottlenecked. But I do eventually get myself through it. So like I said, if you come in and there's a couple hundred people in there, it might take me a minute to get to your comment, but I will read each and every single one of your comments before I close out the live for that day. So if you do have a question for me or something like that, the live is a great opportunity for you to ask that. And it's a great opportunity for everybody to hop in there and speak with each other as well. But guys, I think that's it for today. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget about the Buy Me a Coffee. The link is in the description right at the very top. All you gotta do is click it. It'll take you straight to the page. And I'm gonna throw it in right here at the bottom of the screen. But other than that, guys, I think that's it. I hope that you guys have a wonderful rest of your day today. And I hope you have a great day tomorrow. And until tomorrow, I will see y'all then. Bye-bye, guys.